I figured I'd come up here.
brethren, and guests, if you could please take a seat, we are about to begin. Thank you.
Supreme Architect University. It's just a short. Fix this thing quick. Wait a minute.
Because that's ritual. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he does that right after everybody's installed.
Brother Frederick A. Spicer, the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland and Grand Line officers.
Brethren, ladies, and guests, would you all please rise? And join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies, would you please conduct the Worshipful Grand Chaplain to the altar for prayer?
Supreme Architect of the universe, we invoke thy blessing at this time. May this meeting thus begun in order be conducted in peace and closed in harmony. Amen. So let it be. I now declare the Grand Lodge of Maryland open. Worshipful Grand Marshal and Deputy Grand Marshal. You will retire to the apartment of the Most Worshipful Grand Master and informed our distinguished guests we are open and ready to receive them. Are there any doctors or EMTs in the house? If they would please rise at this time. Hopefully we won't need you, but thank you very much. Come on, Brother Penley and Mrs. Penley, you can come in. Come on. Open installation. Let's give them a round of applause for finding.
From the International Order of Rainbow for Girls in Maryland, Grand Worthy Advisor Ms. Kaylee Wisniewski, and Supreme Inspector Ms. Mary Adeline Bradford.
Please join me in the east.
There you go.
Yeah, because
From Job's Daughters of Delmar, Miss Job's Daughter of Delmar, Miss Brianna Tackett, and Grand Guardian of Delmar, Miss Ann Messino. From Maryland State Association of DeMolay Chapters, State Master Counselor Brother Ethan W. Shoemaker and Executive Officer Brother Carl A. Michael, Jr. From Daughters of the Nile, Queen of Zeta Temple, number 27, Ms. Shannon Dunnigan.
Right up here. If the officers from the Eastern Star would please stand, I guess we'll introduce you from your seats. Off you go.
From the Grand Chapter of the Order of the Eastern Star of Maryland, Ms. Mary Freeman, worthy Grand Patron, Brother Robert A. Dumas, Jr., worthy Grand Patron, and their line.
Beautiful. Thank you for coming. That's what they get for me. If would all the brethren would please rise. And we will welcome our guests with public grand honors, taking your cue from the east. All ready, brethren? Thank you, brethren. You may be seated. Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden and Junior Grand Warden, please meet us west of the altar. The jewels are on your side. Oh, you're going to leave? Okay, go. I can do this. Watch. The offices of senior and junior grand wardens are elected in the Grand Lodge of Maryland. And so they receive this wonderful jewel with very expensive carrying case. It's been a pleasure to work with you all.
If I can get my glove off.
I'll wait here.
They don't make them as big as this shirt. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Brother President of the Board of Grand Inspectors and Grand Lecturer, west of the altar. Right Worshipful Grand Secretary Pro Tem, would you please read the names of the retiring Grand Inspectors and Deputy Grand Lecturers? There should be nameplates.
I will tell you the names of the retiring Grand Inspectors first. Brother Earl D. Benson, Brother William S. Marinovich, Brother Bernard G. Mark Bandelin, and Brother James E. Ringsocker.
Sir, please present those to the Grand Lecturer and the President of the Board for distribution.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, we have two retiring Deputy Grand Lecturers. They are Brother Sean Winpegler and Brother William Perry. Apparently, they aren't here.
No, Sean's here. He just
Oh,
was
there he
trying to
is.
stand up. Come on.
An obstacle course to get out of there, though.
Go around the side.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Take them. Take them.
Good.
Thank you, brethren. We do have some new Deputy Grand Lecturers.
Not yet.
Want to hold on that?
If anyone has a cell phone, if they could do me a favor and take it out and make sure it's on silent or turned off, it'd be appreciative. Distinguished East, ladies, guests, and my brethren, we welcome you to the public installation of officers of the Grand Lodge of Maryland. The ceremony of installation of a Most Worshipful Grand Master is one of the oldest and most revered ceremonies of our fraternity. Every brother who has been installed Most Worshipful Grand Master of this Grand Lodge has gone through this ceremony from the earliest days of our fraternity. As Maester uses the tools of the builder's trade as emblems and symbols to teach its precepts, it would be good for you to remember that all the ceremonies you're about to witness have a deeper meaning than would at first appear to the casual viewer. It is our pleasure to have you with us this afternoon and hope you enjoy our ceremonies. Before we begin, it would be best if I explained to you the use of the Master's gavel. One rap of the gavel calls up an individual brother or seats the entire lodge. 2 raps of the gavel calls up the officers. 3 raps calls up the entire Grand Lodge. Only members of the fraternity will be requested to respond to the gavel. I would caution the brethren in attendance, this is an open installation and there will be no dew guards and signs. We will now proceed to install and invest the officers of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Right Worshipful Grand Secretary Pro Tem, you will read the names of the officers to be installed and invested.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, Brother Randall L. Watson. Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, Brother Bradley D. Andrikaitis. Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden, Brother Tommy J. Morris. Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden, Brother Richard E. Thurfield, Jr. Right Worshipful Grand Secretary, Brother Thomas W. Foster. Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer, Brother T. Scott Cushing. Worshipful Senior Grand Deacon, Brother Justin T. Webster. Worshipful Junior Grand Deacon, Brother Kenneth D. Lonigan. Worshipful Senior Grand Steward, Brother Carlos A. Tosios. Worshipful Junior Grand Steward, Brother David F. Long. Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer, Brother Jose E. Vasquez Cruz Sr. Worshipful Grand Sword Bearer, Brother Carlos C. Ibanez. Worshipful Grand Pursuivant, Brother W. Christopher Oslin. Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies, Brother Gary C. Norman. Worshipful Grand Lecturer, Brother William G. Richard III. Worshipful President of the Board of Grand Inspectors, Brother Rafael A. Rodriguez. Worshipful Grand Organist, Brother J. Jacob Todd, Jr. Worshipful Assistant Grand Organist, Brother D. Lynn Newman. Worshipful Grand Chaplain, Brother Earl F. Hank Griffin III. Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplain, Brother Randall A. Schuck. Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplain, Brother Kenneth M. Adams. Worshipful Grand Marshal, Brother William L. Martin Sr. Worshipful Assistant Grand Marshal, Brother Reginald J. Ida. Worshipful Grand Tyler, Brother David A. Enty. And Worshipful Assistant Grand Tyler, Brother Brett T.J. Bean.
Thank you, sir. Brother Past Master Jonathan T. Rourke. You will present the Most Worshipful Grand Master-elect, Brother Randall L. Watson, for installation.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honor to present for installation Brother Randall L. Watson, Most Worshipful Grand Master-elect of the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Brother Watson, you have been elected Most Worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Previous to your investiture, it is necessary to signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duty of a Most Worshipful Grand Master. You agree to be a good man and true, and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be a peaceable subject, and cheerfully conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. You promise not to be concerned with plots or conspiracies against government, but patiently submit to the decisions of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to avoid private picks and quarrels and guard against intemperance and excess. You agree to be cautious in your carriage and behavior, courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your Grand Lodge. You agree to respect genuine brethren and discountenance impostors from all the duties of masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, cultivate the social virtues, and propagate the knowledge of the art. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of masonry. You admit that no new lodge can be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, nor countenance given to any irregular lodge or person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of the fraternity. You admit that no person can be made a Mason in or become a member of a regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. You agree that no visitor will be received in your Grand Lodge without due examination and having presented the proper vouchers that he was initiated in a regular lodge. These are the regulations of free and accepted Masons. Do you submit to these charges and promise to uphold these regulations as Grand Masters have done in all ages before you?
I do, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
In consequence of your cheerful conformity, you will now be installed Most Worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland, in full confidence of your skill, care, and capacity to govern the same. You will place yourself at the altar and assume the obligation.
I, Randall I. Watson, of my own free will and accord, do solemnly swear I will, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term, and until my successor shall have been duly elected and installed. So help me God.
You will now be invested with a jewel of your office and conducted to the east. The various emblems of our fraternity are emblematical of our conduct in life. The holy writing, that great light of masonry, will guide you to all truth, direct your paths to the temple of happiness, and will point out to you the whole duty of man. The square teaches that we should regulate our actions by rule and line, and harmonize our conduct by the principles of morality and virtue. The compasses teach that we should limit our desires in every station, that rising to eminence by merit, we may live respected and die regretted. The rule directs that we should punctually observe our duty, press forward in the hands of virtue, and neither inclining to the right nor to the left, and all our actions have eternity in view. The line teaches the criterion of moral rectitude, to avoid dissemination in conversation and action, and will guide your steps to the path which will lead to immortality. You receive in charge the Book of Constitutions. Cause it to be read in every one of your Blue Lodges, that no one can claim ignorance of the excellent precepts it enjoins. Where's your brother Grand Marshal? You will make proclamation.
The honor guard will form on the north side of the lodge, double file facing the east, and will consist of the most worshipful past Grand Masters, the past masters of Nanticoke Lodge number 172, the past masters of Montgomery Cornerstone Lodge number 195, the past masters of Ancient Baltimore Lodge number 234, the officers of the 2025 Grand Line, and the special invited guests. Honor guard, column right, march. Column right. Column right. Column right. Honor guard, halt. Brethren, I am ordered to proclaim, and do proclaim, that Brother Randall L. Watson, having been duly elected, is now about to be installed the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland. Take due notice thereof, and govern yourselves accordingly. Honor guard, column right, march. Honor guard, halt. Honor guard, left face. Brethren, with me, a battery of 1. Honor guard, right face. Honor guard, fall in, column right, march. Column right. Column right. Honor guard, halt. Brethren, I am ordered to proclaim, and do proclaim, that Brother Randall L. Watson, having been duly elected, is now about to be installed the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland. Take due notice thereof, and govern yourselves accordingly. Honor guard, column right, march. Honor guard, halt. Honor guard, left face. Brethren, with me, a battery of 2. Honor guard, right face. Honor guard, fall in, column right, march. Column right. Column right. Honor guard, halt. Brethren, I am ordered to proclaim, and do proclaim, that Brother Randall L. Watson, having been duly elected, is now installed the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland. Take due notice thereof, and govern yourselves accordingly.
Grin on Fred's face.
Honor guard, column right, march. Honor guard, halt. Honor guard, left face. Brethren, with me, a battery of 3. Honor guard, right face. Fall in, column right, march. Honor guard, column right, split ranks. Honor Guard, halt. Honor Guard, inward face. Most worshipful Grand Master, behold your Grand Lodge. Brethren, behold your most worshipful Grand Master. Let us salute him with honors. The Honor Guard is dismissed.
Most worshipful Grand Master, having committed to your care the superintendents and government of the brethren who compose this Grand Lodge, you cannot be insensible of the obligations which devolve on you as their head, nor of your responsibility of the faithful discharge of the important duties annexed to your election. The honor, reputation, and usefulness of the Grand Lodge will materially depend on the skill and assiduity with which you manage its concerns, whilst the happiness of its members are generally promoted in proportion to the zeal and ability with which you propagate the genuine principles of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature, which rising in the east regularly diffuses light and luster to all within its circle. In like manner, it is your province to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of the Grand Lodge, forcibly impress upon them the dignity and high importance of Masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the Lodge those duties which they have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct to convince mankind of the goodness of the institution, so that when anyone is said to be a member of it, the world may know that he is one to whom the birth and heart may pour out its sorrows, to whom distress may prefer its suit, whose hand is guided by justice, and his heart expanded by benevolence. In short, by a diligent observance of the constitutions of Masonry, and above all the Holy Scriptures, which are given as a rule and guide to your faith, you will be enabled to acquit yourself with honor and reputation, and lay up a crown of rejoicing which shall continue when time shall be no more.
Is there a presentation of a gavel at this time?
While they're coming up, I will mention for the benefit of those who are not aware, normally, you all can come up. My mother, Lois Luthi, would be the one doing this presentation. She was looking forward to it, planning it, and she broke her hip last weekend. So she is in rehab, could not be here with my sister and brother-in-law. So fortunately, we have Brother Brett Bean, who is the one who made the gavel, and Brandon Swanner Sr. presenting on behalf of my mother and the family. And I believe Brother Bean has some words.
So I built this. I've known Randy 3/4 of my life. So, and I know that Randy is a resourceful Grandmaster, is very meticulous about his gavel collection. And I thought that being Grandmaster required the specialist of gavels and the largest of gavels. This gavel is made out of, its dimensions are 3 inches, 5 inches, and 7 inches, which is the Pythagorean theorem. And in the gavel is inlays of...
Oh, wow.
So you're definitely going to get a workout this year. Inlays are a Demolay coin that has the 7 cardinal virtues of Demolay, which is how this whole thing got started, Brother Watson. And then also there are a Scottish Rite, a York Rite, and a Demolay pin on this side. And on this side is a past Master's pin and a black and white checkerboard, and a Masonic coin representing faith, hope, and charity. And in the front is the symbol of Masonry. So.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. You too. Give me a hug. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Got tested.
Prodigious.
Does it work?
Past Grandmaster Spicer, I'm the first person able to call you that. Would you please join me forward here again? Because we have a little token to present to you. Yeah. We'll put the collar on. Okay, very good. So if those are not aware, but the reason why Maryland uses the small jewel for the Grandmaster is this was a personal gift to Grandmaster Shryock, I believe on his 50th birthday. He served as Grandmaster for 33 years. And when he passed away, it came into the possession of the Grand Lodge of Maryland. And we have been using it, and that's the ceremonial one that we use. And so our past Grandmasters now have a replica of the miniature collar, and we hang the past Grandmaster's jewel from that. So I'm not sure how to attach this. Yeah, if you'll turn that way, I think I can figure it out. Got the...
I can't stop smiling.
Well, had it on and it came off. It is sealed. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. We have a couple little tokens. Well, that was its hand. Well, you're taking apart. Yeah. Well, we also have, and we'll put them in the box so you don't lose it. Lapel pin. And your name tags, in case you forget who you are. That's it. And the box for your jewel. So thank you very much, sir. Brother Past Master David Andrikaitis. Present the Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master-elect, Brother Bradley D. Andrikaitis, for installation.
Most worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for installation Brother, Right Worshipful Brother Bradley D. Andrikaitis for installation.
Brother Andrikaitis, you have been elected Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You will place yourself at the altar and assume the obligation.
I, Bradley David Andrikaitis, do solemnly swear I will, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term and until my successor shall have been duly elected and installed, so help me God.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office. Brother Andrikaitis, as Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, it is your duty to assist the Most Worshipful Grand Master in the performance of his duties and in the government of this Grand Lodge. In his absence or incapacity, you will assume to perform his duties for him. I forgot. I have no doubt that you will faithfully execute the duties of your office and discharge this faithful trust. You will now be conducted to your place. Brother Ternan L. Morris. Present the Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden-elect, Brother Tommy J. Morris, for installation.
Worshipful Grand Master, it is my pleasure to present Tommy J. Morris, Right Worshipful Senior Elect of Grand Lodge, Maryland.
Brother Morris, you have been elected Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You'll place yourself at the altar and assume the obligation.
I, Tommy Joe Morris, do solemnly swear, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of the Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden for the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term and until my successor shall have been duly elected and installed. So help me God.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
The level demonstrates that we are descended from the same stock, partake of the same nature, and share the same hope. And though distinctions among men are necessary to preserve subordination, yet no eminence of station should make us forget we are brethren. For he who is placed on the low spoke of fortune's wheel may be entitled to our regard, because the time will come, and the wisest knoweth not how soon, when all distinction shall cease, but that of goodness, and death, the grand leveler of human greatness, reduce us to the same state. Your regular attendance on our communications is essentially necessary. In the incapacity of the Grand Master and Deputy Grand Master, you are to govern this Grand Lodge. In their presence, you are to assist them in the government of it. I firmly rely on your knowledge of Masonry and attachment to the Grand Lodge for the discharge of the duties of this important trust. Look well to the west.
You will now be conducted to the west. Brother Griffin Thurfield. present the Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden-elect, Brother Richard E. Thurfield, Jr., for installation.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, it is my pleasure to present Richard E. Thurfield, Jr., Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden-elect.
Brother Thurfield, you have been elected Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You'll place yourself at the altar and assume the obligation.
I, Richard E. Thurfield, Jr., do solemnly swear I will, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of the Junior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term until my successor shall have been duly elected and installed. So help me God.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
The plumb admonishes us to walk uprightly in our several stations, to hold the scales of justice in equipoise, to observe the just medium between intemperance and pleasure, and to make our passions and prejudices coincide with the line of our duty. To you is committed the superintendence of the craft during the hours of refreshment. It is, therefore, indispensably necessary that you should not only be temperate and discreet in the indulgence of your own inclinations, but carefully observe that none of the craft be suffered to convert the purposes of refreshment into intemperance and excess. Your regular and punctual attendance is particularly requested, and I have no doubt that you will faithfully execute the duties which you owe to the Grand Lodge. Look well to the south.
You will now be conducted to the south. Most Worshipful Past Grand Master Costas Gus Vorvalis and Right Worshipful Past Senior Grand Warden Ralph L. Perry. Present the Right Worshipful Grand Secretary-elect, Brother Thomas W. Foster, and the Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer-elect, Brother T. Scott Cushing, for installation.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for installation Brother Thomas W. Foster, Right Worshipful Grand Secretary-elect of the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for installation Brother T. Scott Cushing Sr. for the office of Grand Treasurer of the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Brothers Foster and Cushing, you have been elected Right Worshipful Grand Secretary and Grand Treasurer of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You'll place yourself at the altar and assume the obligation.
I, Thomas William Foster,
T. Scott Cushing Sr., do solemnly swear I will, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of
Right Worshipful Grand Secretary
Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer
for the
ensuing term, and until my successor shall have been duly elected and installed, so help me God.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
Brother Foster, as Right Worshipful Grand Secretary of the Grand Lodge of Maryland, it is your duty to observe the will and pleasure of the Most Worshipful Grand Master, to record all proceedings of the Grand Lodge, to receive all monies and pay them over to the Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer. Your good inclination to Masonry and this Grand Lodge, I hope, will induce you to discharge the duties of your office with fidelity. And upon doing so, you will merit the esteem and applause of your brethren.
Brother Cushing, as Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer of this Grand Lodge, it is your duty to receive all monies from the Grand Secretary, keep just and regular accounts of the same, and pay them over at the Most Worshipful Grand Master's will and pleasure with the consent of the Grand Lodge. I trust your regard for the fraternity will prompt you in the discharge of the duties of your office.
You will now be conducted to your places. Worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Deacons, present the Worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Deacons, Brother Justin T. Webster and Kenneth D. Lonigan, for investiture.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother Justin T. Webster and Kenneth D. Longman worshipful senior and junior Grand Deacons of the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Brothers Webster and Lonigan, you have been appointed worshipful senior and junior Grand Deacons of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
Brothers Webster and Lonigan, as deacons of the Grand Lodge of Maryland, it is your province to attend on the Most Worshipful Grand Master and the Right Worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Wardens, and act as their proxies in the active duties of this lodge, such as in the immediate practice of our rites. Those rods, as badges of your office, I entrust to your care, not doubting your vigilance and attention.
You will now be conducted to your places. Worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Stewards, present the Worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Stewards, Brothers Carlos A. Tercius and David F. Long, for investiture.
Most worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother Carlos A. Tercios and David F. Long, worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Stewards.
Brothers Tercius and Long, you have been appointed worshipful Senior and Junior Grand Stewards of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
Brothers Tercius and Long, as stewards of the Grand Lodge of Maryland, the duties of your office are to assist the Grand Deacons and other Grand Lodge officers in the performance of their respective duties, and also demonstrate your proficiency in the floor work and lecture of the Master Mason degree. Your regular and early attendance will afford the best proof of your zeal and attachment to the Grand Lodge.
You will now be conducted to your places. Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer and Grand Sword Bearer. Present the Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer and Grand Sword Bearer, brothers Jose E.V. Cruz and Carlos C. Ibanez, for investiture.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother Jose E. Cruz Sr., Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Carlos Ibanez as Worshipful Grand Sword Bearer.
Brothers Cruz and Ibanez, you have been appointed Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer and Worshipful Grand Sword Bearer of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
Sounded a lot better than me.
Brother Cruz, as Worshipful Grand Standard Bearer, it is your duty to conduct the Grand Lodge standard in all processions of the Grand Lodge officers during opening ceremonies of the Grand Lodge and other public events as indicated, to participate in the conferral of degrees of masonry, and to perform other such duties as assigned by the Most Worshipful Grand Master. Brother Ibanez, as Worshipful Grand Sword Bearer, it is your duty to bear the Grand Lodge sword in all processions of the Grand Lodge officers during opening ceremonies of the Grand Lodge and other public events, to participate in the conferral of degrees of masonry and to perform other duties as assigned by the Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be conducted to your places. Worshipful Grand Pursuivant and Grand Director of Ceremonies. Present the Worshipful Grand Pursuivant and Grand Director of Ceremonies, Brothers W. Christopher Oslin and Gary C. Norman, for investiture. Chris's first initial. I almost forgot Chris's first initial.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Gary Norman, Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother Chris Oslin for investiture.
Brothers Oslin and Norman, you have been appointed Worshipful Grand Pursuivant and Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies for the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
Brothers Norman and Oslin, as Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies and Worshipful Grand Pursuivant, it is your duty to participate in the processions of the Grand Line, in the conferral of degrees of masonry, and to perform other duties as assigned by the Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be conducted to your places. Most Worshipful Past Grand Master Costas Gus Vorvalis and Worshipful Brother Grand Marshal, present the Grand Lecturer, Brother William G. Richard III, and the President of the Board of Grand Inspectors, Brother Rafael A. Rodriguez, for investiture.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother William G. Richard III, Grand Lecturer for the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to introduce for investiture Brother Rafael Angel Rodriguez, the third, Worshipful Grand President of the Board of Grand Inspectors.
Should have come to rehearsal.
I don't know this guy.
Brothers Richard and Rodriguez, you have been appointed Worshipful Grand Lecturer and Worshipful President of the Board of Grand Inspectors of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is
Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Brethren, there is no formal charge, and you are both continuing in office, but for the benefit of those here present, the Grand Lecturer and his Deputy Grand Lecturers are the superintendents of the secret work of this organization, which is what separates us from many other social organizations. The President of the Board of Grand Inspectors and his Grand Inspectors are the constitutional resource and Grand Master's communication link to each of the 100 lodges in the jurisdiction. I thank you both for your service. You will now be invested with the jewel of your office and conducted to your places. Worshipful Grand Marshal and Deputy Grand Marshal. Present the Worshipful Grand Organist and Assistant Grand Organist, Brothers J. Jacob Todd Jr. and D. Lynn Newman, for investiture.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother J. Jacob Todd Jr. and Brother D. Lynn Newman, Worshipful Grand Organist and Assistant Grand Organist.
Brothers Todd Newman, you've been appointed Worshipful Grand Organist and Assistant Grand Organist of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You're now being vested with the jewel of your office. Brethren, it is your duty to provide suitable music for the Grand Lodge for all of our ceremonies, such as the opening, closing, visitations, installations, public ceremonies. You have both served in these positions previously, and I hope that you will continue to serve the Grand Lodge in the same manner as you have in the past, and I thank you for accepting your appointment. You will now be conducted to your place. Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplain Andrew L. Cowley, Jr. Present the Worshipful Grand Chaplain, Brother Earl F. Griffin III, wanted to call you Hank, and the Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplains, Brother Randall A. Schock and Kenneth M. Adams, for investiture. Middle initials are a pain.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, it's my pleasure to present Hank Griffin for Grand Chaplain and Ken Adams and Rabbi Randy Schultz for investiture as Assistant Grand Chaplains of this most right worshipful Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Brothers Griffin, Schock, and Adams, you have been appointed Worshipful Grand Chaplain and Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplains of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. It is your pleasure to serve as such.
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
This is Hank. Don't mess up my hair.
My brothers, the Holy Bible is the great light of ministry and forever sheds its radiant light upon every assembly of our ancient Masonic fraternity. From it we learn our duty to God, our country, and ourselves. Teach us from its life-giving precepts, and you will faithfully have fulfilled your sacred trust. Lead your lodges in prayers when the opening closes, and especially memorial services. It is fitting the emblem of this sacred book be the jewel of your offices, of your titles, with which you have been invested.
You will now be conducted to your places. Worshipful Grand Marshal and Deputy Grand Marshal. Present the Worshipful Grand Marshal and Assistant Grand Marshal, Brothers William L. Martin Sr. and Reginald J. Ida, for investiture.
Most worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brother William L. Martin Sr. and Brother Reginald J. Ida, Worshipful Grand Marshal and Assistant Grand Marshal.
Brothers Martin and Ida, you have been appointed Worshipful Grand Marshal and Assistant Grand Marshal of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
Good. You will now be invested with the jewel of your office. For those who aren't familiar, Marshal is generally a 2-year stint, so they really signed on.
As the baton is placed in the hand of the Grand Marshal, to distinguish him as the leader of our Grand Lodge processions, so should it admonish us to lead our lives with purity of heart and conscience. As Grand Marshal and Assistant Grand Marshal of this Grand Lodge, it is your duty to see to the immediate needs of the Grand Master and all Grand Lodge officers, to observe and propagate appropriate Masonic protocol in all the processions and activities in accordance with the wishes of the Most Worshipful Grand Master. I trust your regard for the fraternity will prompt you to the faithful discharge of the duties of your office.
You will now be conducted to your place. All newly appointed Grand Inspectors will approach the altar. Continuing Grand Inspectors will rise and stand at your seat. You have been appointed as Grand Inspectors of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with your regalia.
Brethren, as Grand Inspectors of the Grand Lodge of Maryland, you promise to uphold the principles of Freemasonry and to faithfully execute your duties as representative of the Most Worshipful Grand Master. As such, you understand that your conduct must always reflect the principles of our fraternity and the dignity of this esteemed office. You acknowledge that Grand Inspectors serve as valuable resource to the lodges, and as such, must be the vital line of communication between the subordinate lodges and the Grand Lodge of Maryland. Furthermore, you will promote harmony, integrity, and enlightenment within the lodge. And finally, you must commit your own unwavering dedication to laboring with integrity, leading with compassion, to build with care that temple of unity that binds us together as brothers.
You return to your places and be seated. All newly appointed Deputy Grand Lecturers will approach the altar. Those continuing as Deputy Grand Lecturers will rise and stand at your seats.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to present for investiture Brothers Barry Bosley, Christopher Oslin, Roy Rafter, Robert Reynolds, Timothy Dykes, and Richard Wilburn as Deputy Grand Lecturers for the Grand Lodge of Maryland.
Brethren, you have been appointed Deputy Grand Lecturers of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You now be invested with your regalia.
Brethren, as a Deputy Grand Lecturer for your assigned lodges, it is your duty to conduct schools of instruction in the ritualistic forms and ceremonies of our fraternity. This appointment requires a strong knowledge of our ritual, a respectful method of teaching, and patience. Your position is very important as you are helping to support current and prepare future leaders of our fraternity. And I have no doubt that you will faithfully perform the duties of this important trust.
You'll return to your places and be seated. Worshipful Grand Tyler and Assistant Grand Tylers. Present the Grand Tyler and Assistant Grand Tyler, Brothers David A. Enty and Brett T.J. Bean, for investiture.
Most worshipful Grand Marshal, it gives me pleasure to present for investiture Brother David A. Enty and Brother Brett T.J. Bean, Grand Tyler and Assistant Grand Tyler.
Brothers Enty and Bean, you have been appointed Grand Tyler and Assistant Grand Tyler of the Grand Lodge of Maryland for the ensuing term. Is it your pleasure to serve as such?
It is, most worshipful Grand Master.
You will now be invested with the jewel of your office.
As the sword is placed in the hands of the Grand Tyler, to enable him to effectually guard against the approach of cowards and interlopers, and suffer none to pass or repass without permission from the Grand Lodge. So it should admonish us to place a guard over our thoughts, a watch at our lips, post a sentinel over our actions, thereby preventing the approach of every unworthy thought or deed to our hearts, and preserving our consciences, void of offense towards God and towards man.
You will now be conducted to your places.
who have been chosen to govern this Grand Lodge are sufficiently conversant with the rules of propriety and the laws of the institution to avoid exceeding the powers with which they are entrusted. You are a too generous disposition to envy their preferment. I therefore trust that you will have but one aim, to please each other and unite in the grand design of being happy and communicating happiness. Finally, my brethren, as this fraternity has been formed and perfected in so much unanimity and concord in which we greatly rejoice, so may it long continue. May you long enjoy every satisfaction and delight which disinterested friendship can afford. May kindness and brotherly affection distinguish your conduct as men and as masons. Within your peaceful walls, may your children's children celebrate with joy and gratitude the transactions of this auspicious solemnity, and may the tenets of our profession be transmitted through your Grand Lodge, pure and unimpaired, from generation to generation.
Worshipful Grand Marshal. You will make proclamation.
Brethren, I am ordered to proclaim and do proclaim the officers of the Grand Lodge of Maryland have been duly installed and invested. Take due notice thereof and govern yourselves accordingly. This proclamation I make to the south. To the west.
You're right the first time. South, west, east.
Did I do it wrong?
No.
And to the east. Most Worshipful Grand Master, proclamation has been made.
Brethren, from time to time, the Grand Lodge is called upon to do certain public ceremonies, such as cornerstone layings, building rededications, and so on. And these items are considered proper Masonic work. But instead of having to come into here, open the Grand Lodge, then recess and go out to the construction site and do the ceremony, then return here and close, we have the ability to open a lodge of public ceremonies, which will stand open the entire term. That will save us a lot of time. We will therefore proceed to do so. Right Worshipful Brother Senior Grand Warden, it is my order that a lodge of public ceremonies be now opened and stand open until the end of my term. You will report the same to the Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden in the South. The brethren, having due notice thereof, may govern themselves accordingly.
Right Worshipful Brother Junior Grand Warden, it is the order of the Most Worshipful Grand Master that a lodge of public ceremonies be now opened and stand open until the conclusion of his term as Most Worshipful Grand Master. You will communicate the same to the brethren. They, having due notice thereof, may govern themselves accordingly.
Brethren, you've heard the order of the Most Worshipful Grand Master of Masons in the East, as communicated to me by the Senior Grand Warden in the West. Take due notice thereof and govern yourselves accordingly.
I now declare a lodge of public ceremonies open. So ordered, Right Worshipful Brother Grand Secretary. All right, well, I guess I shouldn't have seated everyone, because at this point, as no great undertaking should ever begin without invoking the blessing of God, the Grand Chaplain and the Grand Line will approach west of the altar. we were thinking there was a prayer for public ceremony, so we changed the order. And then there isn't.
Heavenly Father, this is a momentous occasion, and we are grateful to be here assembled. The very best of men from all over the state and their wonderful families, wives and children, mothers and fathers. We thank Thee for this gift. Our new Grand Master, Most Worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland, Brother Randall L. Watson, has been duly elected and installed, and we thank Thee for this good man. I have known Randy for a few years now, and I have never known him to be anything other than a good man, and one who sets an example that is worthy of emulation. I don't use that phrase lightly. Please build a hedge around our Most Worshipful Grand Master. Send Thy angels, mortal and immortal, to bless him and minister to him and support him in this important work. When the clouds are cast over the sky, but more light is needed, further light is needed. Part those clouds for his sake and for the sake of those who will work to support him. We thank Thee for the opportunity as the 2025 Grand Line, as our Grand Master's Grand Line. We thank Thee for this opportunity to be of service and to work personally and together to make the world better. Please bless our Deputy Grand Master. Please bless our elected and appointed officers and every Mason and every Mason's family throughout the jurisdiction of Maryland. Please bless their crops and their fields and their health. At this time, Lord, we ask a special blessing of healing upon our friends and brothers who need it. Our outgoing Grand Secretary, Brother Ken Taylor, who we love and appreciate, couldn't be here today because he's not feeling his best. Please bless him. Please bless Miss Lois Luthi, our Grand Master's mother, who broke her hip. She wanted to be here for her son. Lord, please bless her. Please bless our Grand Marshal's son, Brother Bill Martin, his son Zach. He's a DMLA. He needs Thy blessing. Please pour out Thy blessings on them and every Mason who needs Thy healing touch, all their wives and their children and their grandchildren, their parents. We ask Thee for a great outpouring of healing upon those who need it, and a great outpouring of Thy blessings on every lodge in Maryland and upon this Grand Lodge, very humbly, to the honor of Thy holy name. Amen.
So let it be.
We have a couple of special presentations, and it's actually our immediate past Grand Master. I believe we have a presentation from you to Lady Lori. Over there. Yes, Lady Lori Spicer, would you please approach west of the altar? Oh, yeah.
For me? Oh. Lori, on behalf of the Grand Lodge, they got you flowers.
I believe at this time we have a presentation from DMLA by the State Master Counselor and Executive Officer. They may approach the east, since one of them's already here. Yep. I know.
Our State Master Council will be presenting the Grand Master a special top hat. The top hat that is in this case, since he is a senior DMLA, our first degree in the DMLA is the initiatory degree. And that piece is a crown of youth, and it goes to the 7 cardinal virtues of the DMLA. This top hat has a crown of youth inverted inside of it, so that it is always with him and keeps him young at heart and remembering the values of the DMLA as he works through the Masonic fraternity. And we hope that those special values bring you to a wonderful experience as Grand Master, and we look forward to working with you and assisting you to become the Grand Master you hope to be.
Good. Thank you very much. You wait right there. Let me shake Carl's hand. Thank you very much. The executive officer may be dismissed. At this point, we will go into comments, and since the State Master Counselor is here, we will let DMLA start. So you may approach the lectern. Thank you. Since we forgot to do it earlier.
Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, distinguishees, brethren and guests, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I count it as an honor and privilege to be invited to represent the squires, members, advisors, and parents who make up Maryland DMLA. Grand Master Spicer, it was an honor being able to work with you during my term so far. Seeing the amount of travel that your position entails is a testament to your dedication to Freemasonry, and I congratulate you on a successful 2 years. For those of you who are unaware, the Grand Master has a different title in DMLA. Dad Watson is a senior DMLA who has devoted a lot of time to playing a vital role in guiding and teaching our young men. Dad Watson has personally helped me throughout my DMLA career, not only as our state ritual advisor, but as a mentor. And for that, Dad Watson, I cannot thank you enough. I wish you much success during your term. I look forward to working with you in your Grand Line. Being invited to be a member of DMLA has had a lasting effect on me. Because of the loyal support we've received from the Masons, I can proudly say that I was raised a Master Mason at Mount Ararat Lodge, number 44 in last June. I would not have taken that step if it was not for the Masons that supported me throughout my DMLA career. We invite you all to join us at our events. Your presence means much more to us than you should know. To the entire Masonic family, We look forward to working with you to continue to spread the cement, which unites us in one common and cohesive family. Thank you.
Could we have comments from Delmar, Job's daughters, please?
Most worshipful Grand Master, past Grand Masters, distinguished guests, and friends. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Brianna Tackett, and I am the Miss Job's Daughters of Delmar. As many of you may know, Job's Daughters is a fraternal organization for girls that teaches self-confidence, public speaking, leadership skills, respect for family, and loyalty to our country. It also teaches compassion and a bond that runs deep within ourselves called sisterhood. In our initiation ceremony, we say that we are related to the Masonic Fraternity, an organization which stands for the brotherhood of humanity. The brotherhood that you share with each other is the reason I exist today. My great-great-great-grandfather, Dr. Francis W. Allen, was the owner of the Allen Academy. As he was teaching a Latin class during the Civil War, he witnessed troops arriving into town. He saw them taking down the flag and being disrespectful. Dr. Allen was enraged, and he stormed out of the classroom, confronted the soldiers, and then a fight broke out. Dr. Allen was arrested, put into jail, and was sentenced to execution the following year. He told Dr. Allen that he noticed his Masonic ring and stated that he was also a Mason. The captain told Dr. Allen that there was a horse out back, advising him to leave town and to never return. Dr. Allen left and didn't return until after the war. That brotherly love saved Dr. Allen's life. We should be proud of wearing our organization's emblems because people will see who we are. It may even strike up a conversation and we can inform them of what we do. It can also give us a sense of relief when we see a stranger wearing our emblems. Had it not been for my great-great-great-grandfather wearing his Masonic ring, his life wouldn't have been spared, and I wouldn't be here. May we wear our emblems with pride. Most worshipful Grand Master, what Job's Daughters can do for you, please reach out. It has been an honor to be here this afternoon, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. May we have comments from Rainbow in Maryland?
Master, members of the Grand Lodge of Maryland, and other distinguished guests. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Kaylee Wesneski, and I am the Grand Worthy Advisor of Maryland. And I am delighted to bring greetings on behalf of Miss Mary Adeline Bradford, past Supreme Worthy Advisor and Supreme Inspector in Maryland, the members of the Grand Assembly, and myself. It is an honor to talk to you about Rainbow and the impact all of you have on our organization. Even though it may not seem like much to you, your support and interest in Rainbow is an inspiration and a help. Whether it's by showing up to your local assembly's meeting or attending our Grand Assembly in March, we are grateful for everything you do to contribute. Rainbow is a girls' organization for girls 10 through 21 that helps girls make friends, learn how to public speak, and teaches them the value of service. Each year, the Grand Worthy Advisor chooses a service project, and for this year, I have chosen the Maryland Food Bank. I chose the Maryland Food Bank because they are responsible for helping people with food security in times of need. If you are able to, please donate a canned or non-perishable food item to your local Rainbow Assembly. We would appreciate it. In addition to a service project, each Grand Worthy Advisor creates their own theme. My theme this year is Find Your Own Happily Ever After with Maryland Rainbow. Our colors are pink, yellow, and blue, and our mascot is Princess Aurora the Axolotl. I chose this theme because at some point in a girl's life, it is their dream to be a princess, and I want to help every girl achieve this dream. Rainbow helped shape me into the girl I am today, and if it wasn't for the Rainbow Advisors and the members of the Grand Lodge, we wouldn't have Rainbow in Maryland. So thank you for so much for helping make Maryland Rainbow great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ray Worship, Brother Senior Grand Warden. Is there anything in the West claiming the attention of the Grand Lodge of Maryland before we proceed to close?
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I would like to congratulate you and the 2025 Grand Lodge officers, and I would like to recognize my wife Patty Morris, my son Thomas Morris, and thank all of our friends and brothers that came out to support us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing else in the West, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Anything in the South, Right Worshipful Brother Junior Grand Warden?
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I would like to echo the sentiments shared by our Senior Grand Warden, and I'd like to introduce my family, but that'd take a real long time, so they're all over here. And of course, my Mount Ararat Lodge family as well, who've come out in droves to support me today. Thank you, brethren, and thank you for being here to support the Grand Line for 2025. Thank you. Love you guys. Nothing further in the South, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Anything further on your desk, Right Worshipful Brother Grand Secretary?
I only get one line, so nothing further on my desk, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Anything on your desk, Right Worshipful Grand Treasurer?
No, sir, nothing, thank you.
Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, may we have your comments?
Most Worshipful Grand Master, Most Worshipful Past Grand Masters, distinguished guests, ladies, and my brother-in-law, I am honored and humbled to stand here today as your newly installed Deputy Grand Master. I got to travel around a lot with our Grand Master and our past Grand Master these past several years. I know these are two outstanding Masons who I hope to thank everybody for coming that's here today. The turnout is great. Thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. I know that our Grand Master has worked hard preparing for this moment. I've seen him over the past 6 months. He's allowed myself and our Grand Secretary Foster to sit in on committee meetings and board meetings so that we're ready to hit the ground running, and I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm excited to be with the line that you have picked. I think it's a great team you've put together, and I look forward to our serving together. I want to congratulate our past Grand Master Spicer for the wonderful job that he's done over the past 2 years. I got to travel with your line quite frequently and got to know the brethren pretty good, and I want to congratulate you on that. And I have a couple people traveling with me today. My father, David Andrikaitis, my mother, Barbara Andrikaitis, my son, Bryce Andrikaitis, my son, Brandon Andrikaitis, and my wife, Christine, who allows me to come out here, and I thank you so much. Lodge of Centennial for being here today. It's important to me. Best of luck on our term together. Look forward to it, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Deputy. And so that I don't forget it, I will begin by introducing those who are, as we say, traveling here with me today. We have Brandon Swanner Sr., Louisa Meekins, And Jonathan Ruarker is a past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. And for those who are wondering, I didn't ask him to present me just because I'm a big fan of his podcast, the Masonic Roundtable, but he happens to be my nephew as well. So that sort of helps it out. So I appreciate you three being here with me, and hopefully my mother was able to tune in and view the live stream, and also my sister Carla and brother-in-law Jeff. Most worshipful past Grand Masters, brethren, and guests, it's indeed a pleasure to greet you all this afternoon. I can't express the full extent of my gratitude and the feelings at being elected and installed as Grand Master. It's both humbling and uplifting at the same time. Now, there's an article in the Free State Freemason, which came out yesterday, so I won't go into the details, but if you're wondering why we did the little shuffle of the Bible when I took the obligation, it's because the one that was put on just for the obligation, then removed, was used when I received all three of my obligations at Nanticoke Lodge number 172 back in 1979. And the night I was raised, they presented it to me and told me it had been used on those. And I've used it at the installations when I have gone in as the presiding officers of most of the organizations related to the fraternity since that time. And there's details in the Free State. I won't go into them here. But as I said before, as no one should undertake any great or important undertaking without first invoking the blessing of deity, we should also pay attention to the sacred book of the law, which is the great light of Masonry. And as the ceremonies of the Eastern Star admonish us, we should return frequently to that great light for instruction. In that spirit, I'd like to quote one of the scriptural references to light that we find in that great book. It's found in verses 14 through 16 of the 5th chapter of the book of Matthew. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. As many of you are already aware, I started my path in this fraternity as a member of the Order of De Molay. Its ritual includes the King James Version text of verse 16 as the candles around the altar are lit at the opening of every chapter meeting and every installation of officers. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. This lesson has struck with me, and like most universal truths, it can be applied with different specific actions under varying circumstances. At the present time, I interpret it that we need to be visible as Masons to the non-Masons in our communities. The Northern Masonic jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite did a follow-up to a survey which they had previously completed regarding the relevance of our fraternity and ideals to the men who would be our potential members. They surveyed men in our age group who had no connection in Masonry. The good news is that the values of Masonry still resonate favorably, and our structure and practices can fill the needs of many men who are not yet members. They also investigated the public's awareness of our fraternity. These results presented a mixed bag. On the good side, 80% of the men surveyed recognized our emblem of the square and compasses as being the Freemasons. Now, an 80% share of brand recognition is the envy of many huge for-profit corporations who spend large amounts of money on advertising. However, only 39% of those surveyed knew what the Masons stood for. So this would be like if there were 80% of the people who recognized the Coca-Cola Company's logo, but only half of them knew that they made soda. So when out in the public, and almost always while traveling by air or on a cruise ship, I regularly wear clothing that displays the Masonic emblem, and have frequently had people come up to me asking if I was a Mason. And then they usually continue that their grandfather or uncle or some other distant acquaintance had been a Mason. And it's often been followed up with comments along the line of, are they still around? I'm sure I'm not the only one here with such encounters. We are still, as a fraternity, trying to overcome the secrecy that many of our members in 1940s through 1960s practiced, where the members didn't even explain Masonry to their families in fear of giving away some secret. I know several current Masons who only learned that a relative of theirs was a Mason when the local lodge conducted a Masonic memorial service at their funeral. They never mentioned it to their family members. In the Grand Lodge of Maryland, we've learned that television and radio advertising under the structure in Maryland and within our budget doesn't work for us. Last year, we started targeted online advertising in social media, which shows some positive results. But I would encourage everyone to step up and help the cause. Wear the Masonic emblem on a ring, lapel pin, ball cap, shirt. Display it on your car, either by getting Masonic license plates or an emblem, bumper sticker, something like that. Let the public see that there are Masons all over, and especially in their own community. Now, don't be afraid that if someone recognizes the emblem, they might actually talk to you and ask you questions to which you don't know the answer. Just be prepared to give a brief response of what Masonry means to you personally, such as a little story of what you do with your lodge or your brothers. Even something as simple as saying, well, occasionally we get together socially to have a cigar and bourbon while talking with each other. You know, just something small in a brief period of time that you can relay to them, and after giving that personal response, you can direct them to our website, askamarylandmason.com. It's a long website, but it's written out fully in English, so it's easy to remember. askamarylandmason.com. Let them know. They'll be contacted back by someone who can help address their concerns. Different lodges do different things. We all do similar types of activities, but they're all tailored to the specific preferences of each group of Masons. So there is no universal answer as to what we do. So don't be afraid. There's no need to be shy or embarrassed about being a Mason, or fearing that you don't know enough to talk about to someone. If you can get them to open the door, others can then do the heavy lifting. We owe it not only to ourselves in Masonry, but to those who haven't joined so that they can enjoy the benefits that Masonic membership can bring. Because the bottom line regarding our fraternity is that what we do for our own personal enlightenment, improvement, and satisfaction. What we do for the support and assistance of our brothers in their development and in meeting their needs. What we do for the good of our community, that it might become a better and safer place. And most of all, we do everything in the spirit of thankfulness to the glory of God, our Heavenly Father, from whom all earthly blessings flow. Therefore, it's my sincere hope that all here present will let your light and the light of Freemasonry so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify our Father who is in heaven. In so doing, I will give to you my admiration, my appreciation, and my heartfelt gratitude. Thank you. Right Worshipful Brother Senior Grand Warden, how should we as Freemasons meet?
On the level.
How act Right Worshipful Brother Junior Grand Warden?
By the paw.
And part upon the square. Thus may we ever meet, act, and part. Worshipful Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will conduct the Worshipful Assistant Grand Chaplain to the altar for prayer. Will everyone please rise?
Let us pray. Supreme Architect of the universe, we turn to you in prayer and thanksgiving as we celebrate this installation of the Grand Master and his line. And now, as we bring this meeting to a close, we pray that you be with us, keep us healthy, in peace, and in safety until we meet again. Baruch atah Adonai hamavorech eramo b'shalom. Amen.
So might it be.
Shalom, brother.
Vice Presidents of the Board of Grand Inspectors are requested to meet with the President, Rafael Rodriguez, immediately after the closing of the Grand Lodge, that you may get bags of pins so that you can distribute them to your assigned Grand Inspectors. I now declare this 238th Annual Communication and 24th Open Installation closed.